I don't think I'll ever get used to doing this by myself, but it's all good. We got to get it. We got to get it done every once in a while. Welcome, guys. It's your boy Sage the Mock from It's Real Wrestling Podcast. Rolling solo today. My boy Ben Goose. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather with all this thunderstorms coming in the Gulf Coast and everything like that. It's got my boy little flustered. So I decided to give him a day off, and he's sitting here with me, your boy Sage the Mark. Before we get started for today's festivities, just want to say thank you so much, guys, for continuing to help us grow. As always, continue to like, share, get engaged with our podcast. You can do that a number of ways. First and foremost, visit our Patreon, patreon.com/IRWP. Got some great content there for Patreons only. You can also hit us up on Twitter at Real WrestleCast on Twitter. We're also on Instagram. It's Real Wrestling Podcast. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we got a website. I mean, you guys can go hit us up at the website. The website is, irwp.us. Happy Thursday, guys. Happy Thursday. Today is the first official day of football. Football. Are you ready for some football? I know I am, because your boy Sage the Mark down with the Browns. The last couple of seasons have been kind of tumultuous for your boy. Going 16, 17 and 0, 18 and 0 between the last two seasons. Yeah, just a little much for your boy. Hopefully this year, the cards will be in our favor. I always say Browns got Super Bowl aspirations. So, but first on deck is the Eagles and the Falcons. Hopefully they're having a good game right now. I probably catch the last half after I get done here talking to you guys. But yeah, so just happy for some football. Hopefully you had a chance to get your fantasy teams up and running, and no zeros. Don't want to start the week off pretty rough, you know what I'm saying? Solid week of wrestling this week, guys. A very solid week of wrestling. We start off, and I'm not gonna go too deep in it because I really want to save it for next week when Goose is here, so we can talk about this in more detail. But first and foremost, a hand clap for the boys and the girls. Put it all on the line this weekend. Last Saturday was All In, which was a hell of a show. Amazing show. A little over 11,000 in attendance for an indie promotion, which is pretty insane considering that that's an indie promotion. But that everyone that was involved in this project, was told that this couldn't happen, and people were laughing at them that they couldn't do it. And they did it. They set records. I mean, they within 30 minutes they had sold that out, the entire stadium, and then later on they ended up opening up, another couple of thousand seatings, and they did it. They put on a hell of a show. Some of the highlights that I liked from that was, your boy Flip Gordon going against Jay Lethal. Very, very solid match. And who could forget Chris Jericho making his appearance, which Goose predicted a couple of weeks ago. So, got to give that little hand clap. We was all thinking it was going to be Neville, but yeah, no, yeah. So, it was pretty amazing. Looking forward to it next year. I think next year will be bigger and even better. I wonder if they'll have it in Chicago, or maybe they go to Philadelphia, because Philadelphia and New York, those are usually the top three wrestling towns. So, but yeah, hats off to the Young Bucks, all the elites and everyone in between, who took the time and the effort to put on one hell of a show. Well, with that being said, getting into the meat and potatoes of what we typically talk about here, which is Raw and SmackDown. And I gotta say, between the two brands, SmackDown was definitely the better show. As it typically is for me. Um, I mean, I love the way the format is. I, I I'm more intrigued into the stories, and it gets me more amped for the pay per views just in general. Um, and seeing as though I'm going to be a little bit more passionate on the SmackDown side, I think we should start off by going through the Raw side. So um, now, mind you, for if this is your first time or you haven't heard us, in a while, we typically both Goose and I have different perspectives when we watch, Raw and SmackDown. Goose typically watches the entire thing, the whole entire 3 hours, whereas I interpret it using the Hulu version, which is typically about an hour 20 minutes, hour 30 minutes of show. So a lot of the things that I see and I go to is typically just, most of the high level points of the show. So forgive me if some of this sounds a little mixed and matched. It's just from my perspective. This is the only thing that I've seen. Which I often critique because there's certain things that I hear about, like a Sasha and Bailey, mixing it up and it never hitting Hulu, or Chris or Kevin Owens, for instance. Last week, Kevin Owens was quit on everyone, quote unquote quit on everyone, and but this week, I saw him during the brawl, both the beginning and the end brawl with the with the Shield, which I was thinking to myself, like, where when did they write him back into the storyline? Because when you look at last week and you look at this week, there's just a disparaging hole in it. And I don't know if there was a segment in between that really talked about it or filled in the gaps, but if it wasn't, I think that was kind of a poor choice of putting him in there. Maybe they shouldn't have put him there. And then Drew Gulak, was there as well, which was pretty odd. I mean, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but I thought that was kind of weird. When there's no reason why he's there. To the best of my ability, I don't know if he jumped ship from 205 Live over to there, but I mean that's neither here or there. So, yeah, I just kind of find that logic gap a little bit weird for me. But we'll see. We'll see what Goose says when he gets back next week. But if Drew Gulak, I'm gonna tell you guys, if Drew Gulak does make the main roster, that could be intriguing. I mean, he's not small. I mean, you saw him. He was matched up with other people like AOP and Dolph Ziggler and Kevin Owens, and he looks the size of them as well, even though he's under 205. So Drew can make it work, and I definitely would be interested in seeing him. He's definitely great on the mic. If you guys have ever heard him on 205 Live, he's great on the mic. He's got charisma in a kind of Bob Backlund kind of way, which I kind of like, and been a firm supporter of him. So think that will definitely give an edge to Raw, help them get more on track. So I did want to. So this week we finally got the Bella Twins, and our first glimpse of the Bellas wrestling since they've returned to to the WWE. I mean, we had this spot at the Royal Rumble where they were. I think it was the Royal Rumble. Yeah, I think it was the Royal Rumble where they had returned, but this has been their first Raw or SmackDown debut, and I've got mixed feelings about this segment. I mean, you guys know how passionate I am about women's wrestling. I definitely enjoy it, especially when it's taken seriously. And I'm not saying, by my upcoming comments, I'm not saying that this wasn't taken seriously. But I was really worried about what I saw in the ring during this particular match. So it was the Bellas versus the Riot Squad, specifically Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan. and there was two spots in particular that Brie attempted, um, and you could just kind of tell she wasn't ready for it. Um, they appeared to be two attempts to a suicide dive. The very first one, she got hung up on the ropes, which kind of seemed like she stopped mid midway, um, and just kind of flopped out of the ring. Sarah Logan kind of got there and kind of try to cover for it. And then the second time she actually committed to a suicide dive, but she didn't have enough momentum going through. So she just kind of like literally stage dived and came, crashing straight down. And Sarah Logan wasn't able to get there in time to do it. So I feel bad for Sarah Logan, like out of everyone in this particular match, because like she is just so underutilized. And this is definitely not the spot for her. I mean, I give kudos to WWE for trusting her to be in this particular spot for the Bellas, but it's just not something that I don't know why you're putting over Brie Bella on Raw when her storyline, for instance, is on SmackDown. So that piece I don't really get as well. And this isn't the first. This isn't the first concern that I have about Brie Bella. When we get into SmackDown, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But the consensus online is, oh, she's just botch, and it was pretty evident to me that people are more harsh on the women when they quote unquote botch than the men. I'm of the mindset of everyone messes up. It's not just wrestling; it's everything that you do. We shouldn't be so harsh and critical on people who mess up unless they're just truly not trying. In this particular instance, I'm just more worried that maybe she's not like really ready to be doing some of those higher risk maneuvers. I'd rather her play it safe and not put herself or more importantly the person that she's working with in the ring at jeopardy by doing something that she's clearly not committed and ready to do. So I mean that's my only concern about that. So yeah, I just wish Brie would play a little bit more safer. I don't think she's ready to commit for those high risk maneuvers. Maybe save that to after the pay-per-view to start trying to do something like that. But it's just really, really, really worried about that. Aside from that, the other highlight that was from Raw that I truly loved, it was the Undertaker and the HBK segment. Undertaker was completely like, I know that there were rumors out there that he was going to be on here, and it makes sense. If you're going to try to promote the Super Show in Australia, you're going to need to have the Undertaker make a couple of appearances, and with the way that the schedules are with the pay-per-views, you're going to have 1 week where Undertaker is here, another week where Triple H is here, and then a couple weeks later have both of them there. I mean, that's kind of usually the formula for it. And considering that neither one of them are going to get physical with each other until that point in time, it just makes sense. The one thing that stood out to me, I absolutely love the promo. I know Sean gets a little flustered when he does promos, and that's just because he's just not used to them anymore. But the one thing that I noticed is that they're really setting up and setting the groundwork for Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at WrestleMania for next year, which sounds like it's going to be a retirement match. I'm okay with it. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not overly excited about it, but I'm okay with this happening. If this is going to be Undertaker's final match, I get it. Personally, I'd rather it be Sting. One, I feel like he's never gotten a real shot at, being introduced into the WWE. He's never really gotten a true spot to really shine. And I think that it's only fitting, and I've said this in the past, I think it's only fitting that Undertaker goes out the same way he came in. Like, he came into wrestling with Sting. It would be fitting for him to go out the ring out of wrestling with Sting. Um, and I know that the contrarian argument is, yeah, but he didn't come into wrestling as the Undertaker, as when Sting was there. But and I get that, but to me, I feel it's fitting. And I know the casuals don't really know that type of history. And I guess that's kind of the one thing that WWE has taken consideration when they're doing these types of retirement matches. I am glad that they didn't allow this retirement match to be Roman Reigns. I'm still in the camp that the fans have kind of voiced their opinion to enough to kind of get them to change their tune, which I think is great. But I mean, if his last two matches are going to be Undertaker, I'm sorry, if his last two matches are going to be, it's for retirement matches are going to be between Shawn Michaels and HBK. I mean, I'm okay with it. Would be nice, maybe AJ Styles, but I don't know. I digress. And then that was pretty much it for Raw. Again, it was solid. I mean, I didn't enjoy it as much as SmackDown, but it was pretty solid. I am looking forward to what's coming up. Hell in a Cell is literally next week, next Sunday. So we got one more show. We have a go home show next week. So we'll do our predictions for that, and that will be there. So can't wait. Hey, Wrestling Network, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. You guys got provide any type of comments. We got you, bud. Got you. And of course, you guys can always hear us live on Thursday nights, typically 9:30 Central Time. So just hit us up on YouTube. It's Real Wrestling Podcast. We're there. And also don't forget, hit us up at Real Wrestling Podcast, or sorry, at Real WrestleCast rather on Twitter, because we're there as well. So but that was Raw. Going into SmackDown again. SmackDown is the show. It's the show that gets me the most excited every week. I just can't wait until Tuesdays because it's great. The opening segment, I absolutely loved. It was basically the theme of the show was around Daniel Bryan, Maurice, The Miz, or Daniel Bryan, Brie, Maurice, and The Miz, and basically playing cat and mouse, trying to find each other. I love the fact that The Miz and Maurice did a segment before the doors were open to the fans, so it was just basically an empty stadium. Thought that was, going to be. I thought that was interesting because they don't typically do that. Wrestling Network is asking about Ben Goosen. Ben Goosen's under the weather today, so you got your boy Sage the Mark. So apologize for that, but sometimes you get sick with the weather coming in. You got to improvise. So, but back to the story. Yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing. I like that SmackDown is consistently doing something different. I think that's what's so intriguing about it. I still say Fox got the better of the deal between Fox and USA, because SmackDown is really, really where it's at. After that opening segment, CN almost comes out. They cut a promo, and basically, Daniel Bryan is going to have a one-on-one match with CN almost. And I love these two guys together. They have such great chemistry in the ring. Like, it blows my mind how great this is. And I know that people are kind of like, well, why are you guys giving it away? Why are you guys giving it away free? Why not? Like, you guys we're getting like literally 30% of what they're capable of doing on a week-to-week basis. Why wouldn't you want to see that? Like, that to me is great. And the money is going to come in when Selena Vega, which I love the fact that she said La Muñeca. I love that. But when she starts to get involved into like literally physical with Daniel Bryan, I think that is just going to change things. I absolutely love it. I'm also starting to see the culmination of the mixed match challenges coming through, because you're seeing this on the week-to-week basis, especially on SmackDown, which leads me to believe that this is continuing to be on SmackDown's not show, but it's going to be on SmackDown. SmackDown's going to end up having eventually a mixed match division, which I am all for. I think that is I love it. I mean, I love it. And I really wish that the women could like be openly physical with the guys, to be a true mismatch type of match or intergender match. I mean, it works. Like we saw it at All In, right? And Jordana Grace just kind of like tearing down the house. I mean, we could do this. I get the whole domestic violence image and everything like that, but I mean, this is wrestling, and I like if you're trying to promote equal grounds, I don't. I think there's no better way of doing it than to show that women can wrestle the men. But that's just my opinion. I mean, that's just my opinion to it. So, but yeah, again, solid match. Unfortunately, CN lost, but that's okay. I don't think it was detrimental to his character at all. The one thing that I did not like, and this is just me personally, and this is something I had alluded to in the Raw review, is that Bree, like after this celebration, Bree talks to Daniel, and Daniel's like, "Yes, go ahead," and he backs away, and Bree just kind of sucker punches Zelina Vega, which confused me. Like it was a heelish move to do, and I know I don't get too hung up on the heel face thing, but I'm struggling to understand Bree's character because to me, like the way she is on Raw and the way she is on SmackDown seems like she's playing two different characters. And I mean, if that's what they're going for, that's cool. It's different, but I didn't like I don't particularly like that. But she gave she did the Brie mode, and I don't know if Selena just sold it very well or if Brie just like miscalculated, but that knee looked vicious. Like I literally thought legit that Zelina was out, but at the end of the show, Zelina looked fine and wrestled. So that was that. But that was something I was just a bit concerned about. And I pretty much everyone on social media said the same thing. Like they were really concerned that Brie might have been just a little bit overboard, but she might have just been selling. I mean, she just might have done it perfectly. So we got to give her the benefit of the doubt on that. So after that, we got the Becky and Charlotte exchange, which I thought it was interesting that they made this a segment where they were in separate rooms and they were being interviewed, and I liked it because it gives this slow burn feeling that, hey, we want to see them mix it up, but we're gonna have to watch another week to do it. And the only thing that I didn't like, and I'm gonna go into this a little bit deeper, I promise, but the one thing I didn't like is like literally after this segment was over, they had a commercial in place or an announcement in place that Becky and Charlotte were going to be fighting at the Superstar event in Australia, the Super Show event in Australia for the belt. But that's in October, and Hell in a Cell's like next week. So, like, why blow the wad on a show that's not even on the radar right now, in terms of like what's currently going down? Like, why would you do that? Like, to me, it simply means that Becky's not going to win, or is going to have a some type of DQ finish at Hell in a Cell, which kind of makes me not want to be as interested in it because it seems like the payoff's not going to be until the Australia match. But we'll see. The exchanges between the two during the interview was amazing. Absolutely loved it. I thought that the flow, the tempo was good. The one thing that if I had to critique is, unfortunately, Charlotte, and I know you guys know that I'm not a fan of Charlotte too much, but it seemed as though she couldn't keep up with Becky. So she was like constantly like cutting her off and kind of belittling her. But Becky's comeback on it was like amazing all the way through. So all in all, they have great chemistry together. I never thought that I'd enjoy Charlotte getting her ass handed to her week after week as much as I do. But as I said last week, I would like to see Becky do that through the entire roster, leading up to her title matches. But that looks like that might not happen. But I'm okay with that. So, the main event, which the main event was interesting because I didn't really see it coming. Like, considering that AJ had already had his promo, and the tag team match had already happened. Like, I was struggling to understand like truly what the main event was going to be, and then I had remembered that, hey, there was this storyline of the night going on between Daniel Bryan and The Miz, so that had to involve them somehow. And as you know, as the conclusion of the Daniel Bryan match, they were actually going to a restaurant to find The Miz. The Miz ended up being back at the stadium and was booked for a match in the main event. And R-Truth tells, I loved it. R-Truth tells Ty Dillinger that, that he weaseled his way into the main event, and that's how you're supposed to do it. So it's kind of teaching him what's going on. He gets Carmella, and he convinces Carmella to be kind of his valet, saying that Maurice called him all these things and that she didn't. And so that was interesting. But they end up having that match, and the match was really, really good. I mean, I don't know what it is about R-Truth, but as he gets older, he gets better in the ring. Like, it's just more entertaining. I love his whole like gimmick where he's doesn't know what everything is going on. Like, his brain is just mixed up completely. He doesn't know what's going on, and I love it. And his chemistry with Carmella is really, really good, which I'm looking forward to them in the Mixed Match Challenge coming up. I think that they planted the seeds 2 months ago that they were going to be doing something together, and that's just going to be interesting. I hate the fact that it's on Facebook Live and that it doesn't air onto the network until like literally like a week later. So we're always like looking at things in the rear. But aside from that, I'm definitely I'm enjoying that. So the match actually ends surprisingly with R-Truth getting the win over The Miz, which shocked everyone. I was completely shocked as well. I mean, it made sense considering that Daniel Bryan was coming in to fight, but I just kudos to SmackDown for putting on an unexpected show with an unexpected ending. And continuously keeping us on our toes. I can't appreciate that brand enough for what it is that they do. They continue, the writing is solid. The matches are amazing. It seems like they have a good rotation between who comes in and who comes out week to week. Like, we didn't get Randy Orton or Jeff Hardy this week, which gives us, an opportunity to see the tag teams minus the Bar and the New Day on the roster, which is perfect. They've got a working formula that works week to week, and it seems like it's sustainable as well. Still trying to figure out how we traded Mike Kanellis over to Raw though, because that I didn't get any memo that he was a Raw brand, but he just kind of jumped there. So that was pretty interesting, to say the least. But yeah, man, that was pretty much it. Again, next week Goose will be here. We'll hash it out with our predictions on what's going on and what we have, or what we're what we see or what we have. So but as always, guys and girls, we love to hear from you. Your feedback is valuable to us. Hit us up at patreon.com/IRWP. You can always listen to us live on Thursday nights. Just search for us. It's Real Wrestling Podcast, or go to our Twitter account at Real WrestleCast. And if all those acronyms and URLs and links are too long for you, I got a short one for you. It's IRWP.us. That is our website. Literally, it works. IRWP.us. On the left-hand side is all of our credentials for our shows. So hit us up. Let us know how you like it, how you feel, what can be improved, what you like to hear, what you like to see. We're going to get it out for you. I am just kind of a program note, working on the first two episodes of the Mae Young Classic, which debuted this week. So I should be getting that out to you guys this week as well. Early access as always to our Patreon donors. So go ahead to hit us up at patreon.com/IRWP so that you'll be the first to listen to that. We'll get those up on the audio podcast probably like 3 weeks afterwards. So if you want to hear it live and in person, y'all hit us up at that Patreon because that's what we do over there. So that being said, guys, that's going to be the end of the show. Thanks so much for joining us. Special shout out to Wrestling Network for joining us live. Always a pleasure. In closing, we hear it every week, guys. You guys hear it every week. A lot of bad things going on out there, but always stay positive, be positive, and meet a wrestling fan. Say hi to a wrestling fan, or make a wrestling fan. Wrestling is for everybody, guys. If you don't believe me, hit that hashtag. Wrestling is for everybody because it's legit. So with that being said, thanks so much for joining us. You guys have a good night. I'll keep it real. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to It's Real Wrestling Podcast. As always, hit us up at irwp.us or patreon.com/IRWP. Please remember that the thoughts, opinions of the guest and host are that of the guest and host and do not reflect IRWP as a whole. Thanks so much for coming out. Have a blessed night. Keep it real.